everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this Microsoft Reactor event today. We are going to get started here shortly, but before we do, I have just a few quick announcements. We do have the live event Q&A open. You should see an icon that is 2 text boxes with a question mark over the top text box. That is going to be the live event Q&A. Please feel free to ask questions of our panel that we have with us today, and we're going to go through some quick intros. Then Paul has some questions for our panel, and then we will go into attendee questions at the very end. Also in the live event Q&A, I will be sharing some links out to some different things. One is our Microsoft Reactor meetup page, where you can see the other events that we have coming up. I will be sharing a link to the Microsoft Reactor YouTube page, where you can see the recording of this event as well as our other past live stream events. And then finally, I'll be sharing a link to our survey. If you do have a few minutes today, we would love to get your feedback on this event and hear about what other topics you are interested in for the future. Again, thank you so much for joining us, and I'm going to pass it over to Paul.
Thanks, Dion. Hope everyone can hear me. So just to kick things off, I'd like to welcome everyone to our Microsoft Reactor session here today, entitled How Data and AI Are Shaping Innovation in Industry. So hopefully everyone's in the right place, and thank you for joining us. And I'm your host for the next 45 minutes or so. My name's Paul Maher. I'm a general manager at Microsoft within our cloud and AI group, focused on our Microsoft commercial marketplace. So as Dion mentioned, the format for the session today will be panel discussion, and I'm pleased to be joined by some illustrious guests. We have Sunny from Kensai, and we have Drew from Matillion. And so what we'll do is we'll let each of them formally introduce themselves and kick things off, and introduce their companies and what they do. And then we'll move to some Q&A questions that I have. But please, as Dion mentioned, as we're ongoing, feel free to add your questions in the chat window, and we'll make sure in the second half of the session to address those questions, whether it be the panel or myself. And so, we certainly want the sessions to be interactive, so please do take the opportunity to ask those questions. And if we don't have all the answers, we'll happily make sure we do some follow-up afterwards. So with that, big thank you to everyone for joining us. Let's kick things off, and Sunny, we'll start with you, followed by Drew, and then the Q&A. So Sunny, please feel free to kick things off.
Thank you, Paul, and good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. And I wanted to start with just giving you all a context of who's Kensai and how we have used the Microsoft commercial marketplace and the Microsoft ecosystem to grow our business. I'm the Chief Growth Officer. I'm responsible for our revenue growth and revenue function based out of Bellevue. And to give you all a sense of Kensai, we are a 5-year-old business focused exclusively on enabling healthcare system, whether it be payer, provider, government agencies, to use AI and machine learning to do better for our patients, right? So we do a whole host of things around diabetes management, hospital operations, and so forth, which I don't want to go into. The core of the business is our data platform that helps health systems, doctors, nurses, data analysts to build AI for preventive and predictive healthcare. That's really the business, right? We are built on Azure end-to-end. We use, and we'll talk about the Azure services we use, from Synapse all the way to Power BI and so forth. Right? We are, because of our focus in healthcare, we work with folks like NHS, Ministry of Health in Singapore, with the US Army Medical Corps, as well as some large health systems in the US. We are rated by KLAS as the #1 AI provider in the country. So, that's the business. The other aspect of it is, we are a very close Microsoft partner. We have been Partner of the Year for a couple of times now. But what's really cool about this business, which I think, for some of you on this call is a good takeaway, is we went to the Microsoft for startup experience, right? So we went to the incubator. We then became a managed partner. Then we became an ISV partner, co-sell ready. We have been on AppSource, which was sort of the predecessor of the Azure Marketplace, since 2018. We have always been a very enthusiastic partner to Microsoft's new commercial innovation, and it's been a fantastic win-win relationship, right? Our business has grown, again, it's a small business, but we have grown at least 2x for the last 4 years, every year, including this year, right? And the Microsoft partner ecosystem, as well as the commercial, avenues and channels around it, have been pivotal to our growth. And I look forward to talking to all of you and helping all of you in learning and understanding how we have leveraged that, so you can really leverage these unique capabilities that come together with the Microsoft partnership. Thank you, Paul. Over to you.
Thanks so much, Sunny. That's great. Appreciate the introduction. Okay, and so we'll hand over to Drew to do his introduction as well about Matillion. Drew, over to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Paul. Drew Johansson here. I'm a Global Alliance Manager at Matillion. Really appreciate Microsoft, you all having me here today to discuss Matillion and to contribute to this discussion as a whole around our marketplace experience. A bit about Matillion. So we're a cloud-based software company, dual headquartered in Manchester, UK, and Denver, Colorado. And we build and design products that are purpose-built for cloud-native data ingestion and transformation. And really, kind of how we think and present our products around 4 key pillars: simplicity, scale, speed, and savings, with an overarching focus, as I'm sure a lot of people in the space run into, around the concept of breaking down data silos and democratizing data, right? Making it available to organizations to understand and execute and compete with their business on. Specifically, kind of how we address these 4 key pillars, right? Matillion's intuitive interface, we kind of take this sort of low, no-code, drag and drop approach, where our product really is sort of built and designed for developers and analysts alike, right? Which helps sort of break down those barriers to entry as far as accessing and actioning data within an organization. A little bit more unique for Matillion is that we take this, purpose-built push-down approach to transformations, which, we leverage unique features and processing powers of the cloud data warehouses we support. So as it relates to Azure, we look at Snowflake on Azure and Microsoft Azure Synapse. But these help to deliver scalability and a faster time to value in our customers. The other interesting sort of, as we think about, fast time to value, speed, and savings, and as it relates to Microsoft, Matillion is very much a marketplace first company, which makes us a little bit more unique. We kind of were born, in that marketplace environment. That's been our only delivery mechanism to customers. And because of that, what we've noticed specifically as well on Azure Marketplace, it really makes the product easy to purchase and deploy for our customers. Our sales teams and the customers themselves, we're not wasting time to negotiate contracts. They're not having to purchase equipment or what have you. It really streamlines that process. And combining that with our pay-as-you-go approach, right, allows for people to quickly adopt our solution and start to deliver value within their organization on their data. So really looking forward to sort of sharing, our insights. We're a relatively new, I would say, partner of Microsoft, and it's been born from our marketplace relationship, where a lot of people have gone to sort of the one commercial partner route, right? And then come to marketplace later. We've kind of flipped that on its head and gone marketplace and actually been able to sort of leverage that, and grow that relationship to help us out in other aspects of our Microsoft partnership. So looking forward to talking with you all about that.
Awesome, thanks so much, Drew. And I think we may have a late entry to the panel, but let me check. So Lucas, do we have you there?
I'm here. Sorry for entering late.
No worries. Well, awesome. So we now have 3 guests, which is fantastic. So Lucas, do you want to kick things off and do a quick intro to Prismaretail?
Sure. Prismaretail is a platform that combines AI with domain knowledge and business processes in order to reduce the gap between data analysis and decision making. We focus on the retail and the CPG industry, And what we have seen in the last 15 years of experience working with retailers and CPG companies is that they have a lot of data, but they have a lot of trouble extracting value out of that data. And sometimes it's because the data scientist teams don't have the domain knowledge, and vice versa. The marketing or the commercial teams don't have the data skills and the data scientist skills. So what Prisma does is captures millions of data points that are in the market and within ERPs and CRM systems of our customers. It combines all of that data into one data lake, and then it suggests concrete actions within 5 modules that we have in our platform, which is the pricing optimization module. It suggests you to increase or decrease your prices based on many different variables. Then you have the assortment module that suggests you to add or remove products from your assortment based on products that are trending in the market or products that are underperforming within your chain. We have promotions, we have a supply chain optimization, and we also have a spacing or exhibition optimization, all within the same platform. And I think you have a short video to show, which is 1 minute, that will explain it a little bit better than myself.
In retail today, between 8 and 15% of sales are lost due to stockouts. 1 out of 3 customers can't find what they are looking for while shopping. And pricing mismatches generate a loss of 8% in profits on average. There is plenty of data out there that would help to prevent these situations. The challenge is to capture it, ask the right questions, and get actionable suggestions to increase your profits. Prisma captures millions of data points from different sources. Combining machine learning with business strategies, it generates suggestions for decision makers to increase sales and margins, reduce working capital, and fine-tune operations. Prisma includes the most important retail functions working together in one single omni-channel platform. Pricing suggests new prices to increase margins while improving your price image. Assortment planning helps to increase sales and reduce working capital by suggesting an optimized product mix. Promotions suggest different types of promotional dynamics to generate more traffic and increase ticket size. It also checks promotion overlaps and measures results in detail. Space planning optimizes product exhibition to increase return on space based on performance, sales turnover, and available space. Smart supply reduces stockouts, overstocks, and inventory days by integrating your data into the supply chain. Prisma is easy to scale, agile and flexible to implement. It combines artificial intelligence with business strategies, with all modules intertwined, generating a high return on investment. Start bringing colors to your business data.
Thank you, Paul. So very happy to be here in this panel.
Excellent. Thank you so much, and thank you for the excellent video. So just quick check-in with everyone listening in. Again, we want this to be an interactive session, so I'm going to spend a little bit of time now. I have a few questions for our panel here, but please, we want to hear from you as the audience. So make use of the chat window, ask questions. So if there's questions you've seen that pertain to Kensai, Matillion, or Prismaretail and their companies, feel free to ask those questions. And as we embark on our conversations now, if there's anything that you further want to ask the panel or drill in further on some of the questions I'll be asking, again, please add them to the chat window. We want this to be your time and hopefully get as much from this hour as possible. So with that, we'll switch to our Q&A part of the session. And thank you again, everyone, for the great introductions to your companies and for being here today. So I'll start things, and this is a question for you, Sonny, from Kensai. It's great to hear from all of you about kind of the partnership you have with Microsoft. Perhaps some of our listeners here today are maybe new to Microsoft or looking to kind of learn from your experiences and your engagements working with Microsoft. So Sonny, I'll start with you and kind of the first question, which is, how has the partnership with Microsoft helped you and Kensai achieve? And maybe you could just talk a little bit about what that partnership looks like and the types of things and the type of work that you do together, Kensai and Microsoft. So Sonny, over to you.
Thank you, Paul. That's a fantastic question to start it off with. We are a young business, as I shared, and most companies in the tech space are trying to disrupt an established business. So I think most of you will empathize with the space we are in, right? And in that point in time, distribution is far more important than innovation, right? And as a small company, as a head of sales, I can only hire 4 or 5 sales headcount, right? But here we have as a partner who really goes to battle with us, that has perhaps the largest enterprise sales team in the whole world, right? So I think just out of the gate, that was a no-brainer for us to partner deeply with Microsoft to grow our business, right? But the second and the more important aspect of that was really the mindset that Microsoft has towards his partner. And I have been partnering with Microsoft for over 15 years now, right? So maybe I'm too much on the other side, but I have never seen another company that truly depends and works with partner in the trenches, right? All my deals today have somebody that is my BFF on the Microsoft side to win the deal, right? We are in the trenches together, right? Our incentives are tied together. Just to be tactical about things, right? Somebody in Microsoft sales organization gets paid a bonus every time we close a deal at Kensai. That's how tight it is, right? So at a strategic level in getting distribution and a tactical level in having shared incentive, if you take those two aspects, that's really those bookends of our partnership, right? And in the middle, Microsoft has perhaps the most well thought through and well executed partner ecosystem in the tech space. For us, as I shared, we have been through the Microsoft incubator process. We have been part of OCP, and being part of OCP is really built on 3 pillars, right? Building with Microsoft, going to market with Microsoft, and selling together with Microsoft, right? So from a building perspective, we have had fantastic technology, oversight from some of the best architects within the product groups at Microsoft telling us, saying, don't use Cosmos DB here, use Synapse there, and vice versa, right? So just, that guidance has been phenomenal for us to scale, right? And we are an international business, so we have partnered very closely with, each regional teams in Australia, in Costa Rica, in Canada, in US, to figure out what services work, what services don't, and how to bring in the, commercial marketplace to host those services and things like that, right? So that has been that has easily saved us maybe, I joke about it, maybe a round of funding for getting to the right product for the market we are serving, right? Then in go-to-market with Microsoft, if you look up on our website, you will see so many joint case studies that we've done with customers, joint webinars, not like this, but more customer-facing webinars, campaigns and things like that. And we have, jointly invested in marketing campaigns on LinkedIn and, just tactical things that help you grow your pipeline, right? And then in selling with Microsoft, as I was sharing, there is a joint incentive, there is a joint pipeline that the sales teams share. In each region, we are in lockstep trying to do our best together for our customers, right? And I cannot imagine how a small 5-year company can work with 5 large government customers worldwide without the very visible and progressive support of Microsoft across the board, right? And that's really my key takeaway, Paul, from a partnership point of view. I'm sure I can, I can talk to it for 2 hours, but I wanted the audience to get a sense of it.
No, that's fabulous. And for any of our listeners out there that perhaps are new to Microsoft, Sonny, and they're looking to, kind of learn a little bit more of what you're talking about and perhaps build a connection with Microsoft, what one piece of advice to kind of get them started? So this is, saying our listeners today that perhaps don't have a current relationship with Microsoft, what one piece of advice would you give them to start building that bridge and building that connection with Microsoft?
A great question, Paul. And I have 2 pieces of my personal learning, right? I think, Microsoft is a humongous company, right? From the outside, it looks almost unnavigable, right? I have faced the same situation, saying, who do I catch, right? Who do I talk to? Surprisingly, Microsoft owns LinkedIn. Everybody on Microsoft responds to LinkedIn, and just find the person you want to talk to. And I can tell you that 99 out of 100 times you will get an immediate response, either saying I will help you, or hey, let me connect you to this other person who I think can help you. Right. So the OCP team is a good place to start if you're looking to partner with Microsoft. It's their charter to recruit and grow partners, so they have incentives. But even if you ask Paul, saying, Paul, I need this help, who can I talk to? I can bet you good money Paul will connect you to someone within 24 hours. So that's one part, right? The second part to it, and this is something I see a lot of other companies struggle with a little bit, is all said and done, this is a win-win situation, in the sense we as partners have to communicate back to Microsoft why it's good for Microsoft to partner with us, right? Just putting ourselves in the other side, right? Because I don't know, Paul, there are 800,000 partners in US or some such astronomical numbers. In 2020, we had the highest rate of new business registration in the country. So, there are many people vying for attention. Let's just put it that way, right? So if we can articulate that, saying, look, when we succeed, Microsoft succeeds. Each time we sign a customer, Microsoft makes X million or not $1 million, so X dollars, right? Each time we bring in a developer, this is the lifetime value that accrues to the Microsoft platform. If you can articulate it from that point of view, it's not like folks like Paul will not support you. It's the people on the field in front of the customer. They will, knock down doors to make you successful if there is a win-win in that equation. So, work with your partner team to create that win-win. And once you got that nailed, you have the largest enterprise sales team in the world rooting for your success.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you so much. And Drew, I'm going to shift to you. Just one more question around on the partnership side, and then we'll start to talk a little bit about technology. So as you mentioned, Drew, you've come in to kind of Microsoft through a different path through Marketplace. I mean, kind of similar, as someone relatively new to Microsoft, do you want to share hopefully the value you're receiving from partnering with Microsoft, but what does that partnership look like? And of course, as you're hearing from our guests, kind of speaking to the listeners here, you'll see a partnership with Microsoft can mean many different things, and in many cases it depends on kind of where you are in your cycle, whether it's you're an established partner that has established solutions looking to partner with our sales teams and go to market, or it may be you're building software solutions and you're engaging more with our technical team. So there's a diverse set of opportunities to partner with Microsoft. So Drew, I mean, maybe you can just do a quick kind of intro to your partnership with Microsoft. And many of our listeners may not be familiar with the Microsoft Commercial Marketplace, so maybe you could share a little bit about that, and we'll take it from there. So Drew, over to you.
Perfect. I mean, I was hoping I could just say a ditto to what Sunny said, but sure, I could add a few things there.
I'm going to make you guys all work today.
Yeah. So just kind of a quick background on our experience, with Microsoft. Just sort of taking a step back. I mentioned in our intro slide that we were sort of born in Marketplace, right? And originally we started, way back in the day supporting Redshift with AWS. And then more recently, our partnership with Microsoft has been a bit new. And, it was sort of an interesting relationship because we entered, like I said, from the Marketplace. Azure Marketplace was relatively new. It was, I want to say about 2 years ago when we started to support Snowflake on Azure, and we had our first sort of publish offering there. Obviously now it's ISV co-sell ready. But we started to build success, working with, that team, Azure Marketplace team at Microsoft. And, similar to what Sunny mentioned, even if it doesn't sort of fall under the Marketplace purview, asking for things or asking for guidance, right? Sort of anybody we spoke to on that team, was able to sort of, point us in the right direction or build connections that would help us be successful. And so ultimately, based on the success we've had just, through what we've been able to build and accomplish and customers we brought on in Azure Marketplace, when we decided more recently to support, Azure Synapse Analytics, we could actually go to the Marketplace team and get connected directly in with the Synapse product team, and our product teams working alongside the Synapse product team. We actually had dedicated engineering resources to help us make sure that we were, leveraging the right features and building it in such a way that's going to have the maximum impact, you know, and then obviously listing that into the marketplace. You know, and I would say just kind of from our perspective, you know, it's been, you know, less of a field engagement, more of a marketplace engagement, and leveraging that sort of mechanism to, you know, to realize this new revenue stream and to have this, you know, additional access to that Microsoft customer and partner ecosystem. And it feels like to date, you know, we have some success, but we're just scratching the surface. And it's very much sort of a you know, a strong pillar to our company success, you know, looking forward over the next couple of years. You know, some guidance or, you know, I guess advice to kind of piggyback off what, you know, Sunny was talking about, right? You know, whether you're starting in sort of the one commercial partnership side, or you have a product and you decide to listen to the marketplace, both sort of have avenues to get you connected. You know, I think, you know, the common thing for me, it's sort of like check the boxes, the way I like to describe it, check all of the boxes, make sure you have all your, you know, ducks in a row, to use a phrase. And then don't be afraid to ask for things, right? Don't just rely on the guidelines that are put in place, you know, within these programs to make, you know, to think that, you know, this is the sort of the rate you have to progress at. You know, if you have other ideas around it, you know, anybody I've talked to at Microsoft has been more than open and supportive of, you know, wacky ideas I proposed and, you know, ways at looking at how to partnership better. You know, you got to just be persistent with it.
That's great. And just for our listeners out there, you know, so the Microsoft Commercial Marketplace is our online marketplace and covers two storefronts. One is AppSource, which is much more centered around line of business applications, and then Azure Marketplace, which is much more sort of orientated around sort of what I would say is IT pro and dev. So think much more around provisioning, IT capabilities, so things like VMs and APIs, etc. And so, you know, it's what's nice with the Microsoft Commercial Marketplace, as Drew mentioned, you know, and especially in our current times, it provides sort of that third leg of the stool as you think about sort of distribution of software and services. So it complements, you know, kind of existing models around traditional sales motions, the reseller channel, and now, of course, you know, kind of giving this multi-scale geo distribution through the online marketplace. So if you're not familiar with the Microsoft Commercial Marketplace and you're interested about furthering your business through online distribution, go check out the Microsoft Commercial Marketplace. So with that, let's talk a little bit about cloud, AI, and data. And Lucas, this is a question for yourself, and let's just warm things up, you know, around sort of how is cloud and AI and data and sort of innovations in this space helping your business? So, you know, we've seen lots of advancements around cloud and cloud providers such as Microsoft. So that's obviously changing and transforming the way we're able to build software and distribute software and, you know, kind of innovate more quickly, move to this pay-as-you-go model. AI, you know, has been around for quite some time, but of course there's, you know, over the last sort of 5 years or so, huge advancements, which is, you know, some of which is driven by the power of cloud. And then of course data is sort of at the core of everything that people, you know, want to be able to harvest and drive meaningful insight. So you know, kind of Lucas, the question for you is, you know, kind of how is cloud, AI, and data helping your business and your company be successful?
Yeah, absolutely. As you may know, as a startup, we have constraints in resources. So first of all, I would say that cloud AI is always updated, secure, it's scalable upon usage and metered. If we want to replicate that in our own environments, it will take us a lot of time and resources. So that's for the start. And on the other hand, it enables us to reuse models that requires also a lot of time to train them and a lot of infrastructure. So I would say if you're a startup, don't think on doing it by yourself. You have a lot of resources within the Azure Marketplace, within the Azure ecosystem to leverage on a lot of investment that Microsoft already has done on this space. And we are also innovating with Microsoft in some of the applicabilities of AI, for example, matching products that you don't have the barcode and you need to match it with the attributes of the product. And we are working with some teams at Microsoft in order to do that, or also to clusterize stores certain channels. So it's not only the infrastructure of the cloud, but also the teams and the technical support that Microsoft is providing us.
That's great. And so, kind of, if we look a little deeper, I mean, kind of for our listeners, what are some of the things that, obviously, as you mentioned, as a startup, kind of the ability to, innovate quickly is important, and think about, sort of, really being able to bring to market your solutions quickly, kind of leverage technologies and capabilities that perhaps can help you drive more innovation more quickly and bring it to market than before. So what are some of the things that you would view as sort of transformative that have helped you innovate, in terms of, if we look under the covers of cloud, or the particular services that you're taking advantage of, whether it's distribution using things like Kubernetes, whether it's kind of using sort of things like our cognitive services, and then sort of, obviously, kind of in the world of data explosion, what are some of the things you've done to be able to harvest that data, but perhaps kind of address concerns around privacy, etc. So my question is around sort of what's some of the innovation leveraging things like the Azure cloud, etc., that you would say is kind of the 2 or 3 things that have been really sort of transformative for your business to help you build solutions more quickly and innovate, and sort of passing on some of those best practices and learnings and how to get started to our listeners here today.
But yeah, for us, last year we've invested a lot in the roadmap of our platform, and we migrated from version 2 to version 3, and that implied migrating to microservices, which are all running on top of AKS, Azure Kubernetes Services. And we also migrate all of our databases that are now running on Azure Database for Postgres SQL servers. We are also now migrating from RabbitMQ to Azure Service Bus. So we are using a lot of the services provided by Azure. Again, all of those services provide us with scalability. We are processing millions of data points from very big retailers. And also we have 5 different modules within our platform, so scalability is very, very important for us. And all of the services that I just mentioned provided us that scalability and flexibility as well. In the last version, we were not using all this technology, and it was really a pain in the neck to migrate things to probably scale one customer that did have one module and wanted to implement another one. So time to market, scalability, and flexibility, I will emphasize.
Excellent, thank you so much. So Sonny, a question for you, and we've had some time to talk in the past. You guys over at Kensai doing some really interesting things. Could you share a little bit about kind of the work you're doing, obviously in the healthcare space, kind of working with doctors and clinicians, and maybe talk a little about sort of the functionally what you do, and perhaps how your world has got better and improved as technology has kind of innovated and expanded. In particular, when you think about the work you've been doing around AI, how have advances in AI and leveraging sort of the Microsoft platform and the Microsoft Azure cloud, how's that helped you solving your business problems?
Absolutely, Paul. It's my favorite topic to talk about. Well, let me start with a very human perspective, right? All of us go see doctors, right? And the usual doctors interaction are, if you have a pain in the foot, you go see a foot doctor. If you have pain in the head, you see a head doctor, right? Broadly speaking. What's really is going on is, all of us are falling sick with this set of diseases that are more chronic in nature, in the sense they don't go away, right? So we stay as patients for 20, 30 years of our life, right? And during that journey, if you have diabetes, you are diabetic for 30 years of your life, right? And during that journey, You collect a whole host of other diseases, cardio issues, kidney issues, foot neuropathy issues, retinopathy issues, and so forth, right? So it's really not about me just having a foot problem. I have a whole body problem that's manifest over 30 years, right? And in just that definition, you can see how this is a data problem, right? Because you are interacting with your doctors, your Fitbit is collecting data on how much you're walking, your glucose monitor is telling whether your cheesecake is really taking your HbA1c out for a whack. If you are in sales, end of quarter, hypertension is impacting your blood glucose control and all of that, right? The amazing thing is today we can connect all those data together, right? It wasn't possible 10 years back, right? Today we can, and thanks to cloud, right? And Kensai exists in that intersection, saying, can we take two very contrarian approach to this problem? One is, think of this as a 30-year problem, not a point-in-time patient-doctor interaction. The doctors are fantastic at telling me what is to be done if I have a foot problem, but they themselves struggle to know if I also had a eye problem and a head problem 5 years back, and I took some meds, and that created a neuropathy issue down the road, right? So we are helping the doctors figure out two very simple things. Is at looking at a population, say looking at the 50-60 people on this call, right? Can we predict which of us will have diabetes 2 years from now, right? Once we have diabetes, there are enough amazing diabetic doctor who will save us. But knowing that in 2 years I will have diabetes, and knowing that if I can manage my hypertension, I can push that onset of diabetes back by 5 years, makes a huge difference to me as a patient, to the burden on the healthcare system at a country level, and the cost that all of us will pay together to take care of me if I am diabetic for 25 years versus 20 years, right? So we are essentially solving that, saying, looking at all the data, can I predict who will get sick and when will they get sick? And as a derivative of that, figuring out how much it will cost to take care of them and what's the best thing to do for them at that point in time, right? We are working with NHS and Ministry of Health in Singapore on something very analogous. We are literally, sending out alerts like Bing or Google does, saying, hey, you are pre-diabetic, you haven't moved much today. Here is a quick note so that you can do 500 steps, right? So you can get as tactical as that, and you can even get as strategic as saying, like Netflix, saying, people like you who were overweight and had hypertension and were pre-diabetic had a kidney failure 10 years down the road. You don't want to go there. So let's put you on a care path that preserves your kidney for longer, right? So that's really what we do. As you can hear, I'm super excited about it. It's foundationally going to change how healthcare is going to deliver, and we at Kensai hope we can play a small part to it. But everybody is, trying to figure that out very aggressively and very ambitiously, thanks to the cloud, thanks to the innovation that's happening on the data side, Paul.
That's awesome. And Drew, I'm going to switch to you, and then Dion will check in to see how our audience is doing if we have any questions. So, if people have questions, please feel free to start adding them to the chat window, and we'll also take a look at the chat window in the moment. Otherwise, I'll just keep talking and talking. So hopefully everyone's enjoying the dialogue. So Drew, one for you. So we've kind of started with the partnership. We've talked about sort of some of the technologies and the work that kind of Sunny and Lucas are doing. Of course, and when we talk about things like AI and driving meaningful insights, at the core of all of this is data and being able to get data ingested and kind of consumable. And so obviously, if I think about you guys and kind of your world of data warehousing and ETL and data transformation, you're kind of at the cornerstone of kind of bringing all that data that's helping drive those meaningful insights. So similar question to you, sort of as you think about kind of working with Microsoft products and services, whether it be cloud, whether it be kind of data lake or other things, what are some of the learnings you would share with our listeners in terms of the technology that hopefully has helped your business kind of really drive innovation that perhaps you wouldn't have been able to do by yourselves or more quickly, and really has helped you sort of accelerate achieving your vision of your product and delivering to customers quickly. And of course, you've already mentioned, kind of the commercial marketplace at the end of the pipeline as the distribution model. But now, talk to us about, a little bit under the covers of your product, how you're leveraging some of those software and services.
Sure, yeah, happy to, and great question there. So sort of, at the core of Matillion, and I just kind of bring this up because it's pretty relevant, and sort of our mission statement that we have now is, we're focused on making the world's data useful, right? So we talked about in the past about breaking down the data silos and all of that, just to make data accessible. And primarily kind of focused on the question you posed to me, thinking about it from our support of Azure Synapse and sort of the excitement that we have around that at Matillion, and the surrounding technologies that involve Synapse, right? There's the concepts of mixing your machine learning, your artificial intelligence, and cloud data warehouse. You're sort of opening the door to these group of users across an organization and centralizing that. Where in the past you think of our technology, right, primarily aimed at the cloud data warehouse, very specific user types that we're targeting there, right? And now sort of the doors open for a whole organization for us to support that with our technology, when you sort of bring all of those together. And sort of in general, I mean, that's sort of what what we're seeing. The trend is sort of how do we how companies starting to merge those traditional cloud data warehouse AI ML workloads into sort of one environment. And then obviously Matillion is building around that our key sort of value in the transformations and sort of the lack of a better word, preparation or massaging of that data, right, to make that available along the way. So leveraging those sort of the innovation that Microsoft brings on the Synapse side, I think and some of those I've sat through, right? You talk about the different sort of I'm going to blank the terminology here, but it's the sort of different states of data, right? Where you have sort of your ore, like your raw data, and then you kind of take it into that bronze, and then that has its specific AI ML workload, and then you take it into the silver, and then into the gold, where maybe in the gold you're running more of that sort of business intelligence off of it, right? To make decisions. And Matillion is designed and sort of leveraging that underlying Microsoft technology under the hood to actually help customers move that data into those different stages, right, and provide access.
Fantastic. And let me just check in with Dion and Michael in the background. Do we have any questions from our audience? Otherwise, I'm happy to keep talking and talking.
Yes, we do have one question.
Okay.
They said, what is needed in terms of data for Kensci to move forward faster?
Awesome. I'll take that. Yeah, thanks for the question. It's a fairly broad question. So let's start with the baseline healthcare data that most systems have anywhere in the world, right? Which is our historical health record. And you'd be surprised how much value is in that data. In the sense, from a machine learning perspective, just having everybody's EMR data or claims data help us create, phenotypes and segments and things like that, right? It's like the Netflix strategy, saying, people who like this also like that, right? So just at the baseline, knowing everybody's, historical healthcare data is incredibly, useful in predicting what's going to happen to them, right? But then the more deeper you go on disease condition, we need more data, like labs. If you're doing more near-term prediction around readmission, length of stay, you would need medical device data if you're doing real-time monitoring and step up, step down dynamic stratification, things like that. But I can tell you this, right? And this is a broad statement. I think in healthcare, specifically so in healthcare, and maybe also in other industries, the challenge is not that customers don't have the data. It's the way they have the data. And Lucas was talking about Synapse and Drew was talking about Snowflake. And I think the reason those services are growing so fast is because it's saying you don't need more data. You have your data in random places that you're not using well enough. Use the cloud to unlock that value, right? I think that's really my core lesson here. And I've worked with rural hospitals that have barely their IT infrastructure, and have worked with the US Army Medical Corps that have perhaps the cutting edge IT architecture, and everybody above and beyond that. All of them have the same problem. They all have the same data. They all do a pretty okay job to a bad job of using that data and extracting the value out of it, which is true for retail, which is true for any system So I hope that answers your question.
That's good. And we'll just pause for a moment. And just shout out to Michael McClary in the background, staff. Can you bring down your calendar reminders? Okay, so I thought it would be super interesting, and we'll keep a watch. Dion will keep a watch, and the folks in the background will keep a watch for questions. So we have a 10-minute time check. So hopefully you're finding the conversation useful, and please feel free to ask questions. Otherwise, I'll keep talking because we have some fabulous guests today. So I'm going to switch to Lucas. And so, of course, one of your company taglines is to innovate and transform retail using AI. But Lucas, perhaps what would be super interesting is, given our current times with COVID, and obviously, retail in particular, it is, kind of being an industry under a lot of pressure to, kind of think about new innovation and, kind of all that's happening and the change there. Perhaps you could share, how is the changing demands impacting the needs from, kind of your company, and how are you helping retailers in these current times? Lucas, question to you.
Lucas, I think you're on mute.
Sorry. Thank you, Paul.
That's okay. Yeah, we're keeping it real. And I'll just say it again, so Lucas, just in case you get it. So, in our current times, obviously your company is driving innovation in retail through AI. I think the listeners would be super curious. Retail is obviously under a lot of pressure at the moment to drive sort of new innovation and new ways. And I was just curious, could you share perhaps some of that, how you're helping with some of that innovation and new demands, and perhaps how your product and how the technology and AI and cloud, etc., is helping with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Many retailers now are struggling, especially the traditional retailers, not the digital ones, but the traditional retailers are struggling with all of what has to do with omnichannel. So they had to run in 2020 in order to provide their products and services within last milers, their e-commerce sites, mobile apps, etc. But they didn't have the tools in order to analyze the profitability of all of those channels. So I think this new year, it is the time to really analyze which are the channels that are more profitable, which are the pricing that has to be, or the perfect pricing or the optimal pricing for the different channels, which is going to be your assortment for the different channels and the different types of clients. So we are helping them in order to establish that, in order to also establish the integrations with the different last milers or the different e-commerce platforms. In fact, we are now, we have a native integration with Dynamics Commerce, so that's very new. And so we are also providing that in order to handle all your channels, all your sales channels within the same platform. So I would say that is one of the very or the most important things we are doing in terms of this new situation within retail. The other thing is that the models that are running on the data coming from here 2020, you have to put a very big question mark on those models, because of course sales probably by March or February dropped deeply. Then it started a slow increase depending on the country and the situation of the COVID. But of course, those models or that data, it has a lot of noise. So we are working with our data scientist teams in order to remove the noise from that data. We are working with anomaly detection models and algorithms also coming from Azure in order to remove the noise from that data and to have more predictability on our models. So that's also very important.
Excellent, thanks so much. So we're getting close to time, so let's switch to some closing remarks. And I thought perhaps it would be good to do two things. Number one, of course, feel free to close off in terms of any call to action, so our listeners can go learn more about Kensai and Matillion and Prismaretail. But also perhaps, for our listeners, and again, sort of in the spirit of, kind of we're all working through these interesting and challenging times at the moment, perhaps there are some learnings you could share. So, what are some of the learnings that, Kensai, Matillion, Prismaretail have adopted to move to our new norm of kind of remote working, and, how are you keeping things moving? So if there are any best practices or things that you've brought into play to help sort of keep the lights on, keep building product, keep selling, that you want to share with the listeners as well, that would be super helpful. So Sunny, I'll start with you. So kind of feel free to close off in terms of call to actions and how people learn more about Kensai, and any best practices that Kensai kind of has adopted in our current sort of environment to keep things moving.
Absolutely, Paul. And I was planning to sell a course on Twitter for $19, but I'll give this to everybody for free. Right. I think for us the last year as a young company has been hard, right? And there is no way to not accept and acknowledge that. I think there are two things we have learned out of this. One is hug your customers tighter, right? Everybody's under the gun with budget. New customer acquisition growth for pretty much all business outside of e-commerce has gone down significantly, right? So hug your existing customers tighter. We grew our current customer base, current revenue from current customer by over 2x in the last year, just by being there for them, right? Or everybody needs help, and the world will come around, right? So just hug your customers tighter. And internally, I like something that I heard from the folks over at Snowflake is, reduce the focus, increase the velocity, and raise the quality bar, right? I think there are phenomenal corporate execution strategies saying, if you can just do that, saying narrow down your focus, move fast, and and the quality will go up. I think I personally use that as a good North Star to execute on a day-to-day basis while we keep our heads together in this weird times. So those are my lessons. I would be happy to chat. As you can imagine, I'm super passionate about healthcare. If any of you are in the healthcare, in the periphery of it, if we can work together, if we can do better for our patients, I would love to chat. If you want any help about Microsoft, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm on Twitter, Sunny Neogi. On LinkedIn, just find me, or just drop me a mail. I'm sunny@kensai.com, and I would love to chat with all of you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Sunny. I'm sure everyone will hunt you down. Drew, same question. Closing thoughts.
Yeah, sure. So just to start, if you want to find more information on Matillion, obviously Matillion.com, or you can use the link in that panel they just showed there for the slide, or you can search us on Azure Marketplace, or actually message me directly on LinkedIn if you want. I'm on there quite a bit. Happy to chat, beyond this, any tips or tricks. But yeah, I mean, generally speaking, probably a lot of similar sentiments to Sunny as far as, learnings from this past year. As an organization, it's sort of interesting to start, obviously 2020, right? With everybody going remote, kind of uncertainty there. We really sort of, kind of stripped away a lot of distractions and narrowed our focus on the customers that we were going after. Really looked at adopting a sort of a newer structure that wasn't existing that provides more support to our customers. So really leaning into more of a, a customer success type entity within our organization, getting a little bit more focused on the enterprise. Yeah, kind of that laser focused attitude there. And then, playing around and experimenting with ways at which we could, connect with people and partners through the times, right? I think we had a lot of, field events planned ahead of this, as I'm sure everybody else did. But peeling that back, how do we stay engaged with our customers, outside of just, Zoom calls or what have you? And I think we've hosted, like wine tasting events and things like that, just to kind of keep it fun and lighthearted through everything. Going forward, I mean, I think as an organization, we've kind of adopted more of this. Remote work approach, right? And I think as an organization, we're going to kind of have a piece of that going forward, regardless of, whether things open fully back up in this next year. And, we've become a little bit more nimble about it, and then actually are investing a lot in our employees around, just personal well-being and development, and we've actually put together a task force around remote working to make sure that everybody's supported. So it's kind of our approach to it all, and it's been well for us. And then I think we're just fortunate in the space that we're at that everybody's journey to the cloud has been accelerated, right? All of our customers out there. So we had an initial downtick in business, and then we're able to hit the accelerator through the last half of last year and over delivered on our revenue targets, and we're constantly growing this year. So there's timeframes have been accelerated, and the customer base around digital transformations and migrations to the cloud. So it'll be an interesting ride going forward.
Excellent, and congratulations. And Lucas, do you want to bring us home? Same question.
I think you're on mute again.
Sorry. I was saying Prismaretail.ai, and you can find me on LinkedIn. Happy to answer any questions you might have. I would say that listen to your customers now more than ever. This is very important in this dynamic and changing environment. And then focus on your product based on the customer feedback. That would be our 2 learnings on last year. Leverage on Microsoft, on your Microsoft partnership. It will provide you, as a startup, it will provide you a distribution channel that probably you don't have the resources in order to generate that distribution channel, at least in the very first stages. And so basically that will be my learnings from this year and my advice moving forward.
Excellent. Well, with that, I'll just say a quick thank you to all my panel guests today. It's great to have had you here, and hopefully our listeners have enjoyed the conversation. And Dion, I will hand it over to you to close things out.
Thank you so much, Paul. And thank you everyone for joining us today, and to our great panel. I think this was a great discussion. Just a quick reminder, there are a few links in the live event Q&A. There's a link to the Microsoft Reactor meetup page. If you want to sign up for a monthly newsletter, there's a link to that, and then also to our YouTube channel where this session and other past sessions are posted. And then finally, if you do have a few minutes, we have a link to our survey. It should take you only a couple minutes to fill out. We would love to get your feedback. Thank you all again so much, and hopefully we will see you at another event soon.